some of Trump's biggest supporters are attacking him. And it's all over this $400 million jet that Qatar gave to Trump. And we have some of those reactions. But first, let's talk about the gift itself.
My attitude is, why wouldn't I accept the gift?
Now, Qatar plans to give a roughly $400 million jet to Trump, but they're not giving it to Trump exactly. They're first giving it to the Department of Defense, which will replace Air Force One, and then, at the end of his term, it will be donated to his Presidential Library Foundation, where he'll then be able to use it for personal use. And there's a process for accepting gifts as president, because it inherently violates the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution. That clause, which you heard a lot about during Trump's first term, restricts the acceptance of gifts by a president from a foreign government. It's ultimately there to protect against corruption or bribery. But still, the practice of giving gifts to foreign leaders and visitors is common. So when, say, George Bush or Barack Obama would visit other countries, if they were to receive gifts, and they did, they would then hand them over to the archives, where they could purchase them for fair market value. Is Trump doing that with this plane? Of course not. And the YouTube account Spotty Flight has footage of the interior of this plane. You can see some of that here. I'll link to the full video in the description if you're curious, but it looks over the top. It looks ridiculous, and this quote, palace in the sky, is right up Trump's alley. But like I mentioned, some of his top supporters are not thrilled. Right-wing podcaster Tim Pool says it basically bothers everyone, and some of the criticisms veer into Islamophobia and scaremongering. Here's radio host Mark Levin's response. Qatar protected the leader of the 9/11 attack from the FBI before he was able to launch his war on America that killed our people. The debate about whether the plane is a legal gift is beside the point. It's not, but we'll get to that. Qatar is a terrorist regime that has murdered Americans. You see this throughout many of the criticisms. It's more about Qatar itself than the gift. And there are some on the right, to their credit, who acknowledge this has the appearance of a bribe. Fox host Brian Kilmeade wondered, what would Qatar want in return?
The president really understands air travel. He briefly had an airline.
Yeah.
Remember the Trump airline?
That's right.
Right. So he understands planes, and he feels as though it doesn't represent the country well. He was proud of the reconfiguring of the contract last time. But here's the story: if he uses the plane and it checks out security-wise, and it ends up going to the Pentagon, you know, there's a reason to believe that he could accept it and could still use it. The question is the optics. What does Qatar want in return for a multi-billion-dollar
I think we would
plane?
be crazy not to accept the plan.
What he might not realize is Qatar likely already has it. The development of a new Trump property in Qatar. Trump's trip to the Persian Gulf right now could ultimately be seen as a business trip, because Trump and his sons have recently made deals with Qatar and United Arab Emirates. 2 weeks ago, the Trumps signed a $5.5 billion deal to build new luxury villas and a golf course. You could argue that that kind of private development warrants a gift like this from Qatar. But what does the Justice Department say about this? Well, Attorney General Pam Bondi and former lobbyist for Qatar says it's okay. We, of course, know that this violates the Emoluments Clause, it is corrupt, and some people are arguing that it is a bribe. But it is on Congress to act and block this exchange. So if you head to moveon.org/block Trump's bribe, you can sign the petition to call on Congress to act. And that link will be in the description below. And while you're there, if you like this video and subscribe to the channel, we'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching.